Hey, what's going on? My name is Nate, and I live in New York. And Governor Cuomo is probably one of the worst governors when it comes to this COVID-19 crisis. Let me explain why. First, at the beginning of the pandemic, Governor Cuomo sent elderly patients with COVID-19 back to nursing homes. Now, the first thing any sane person would say is, why would he do that? Because even back then, we knew that if you're elderly, you'd be more vulnerable to respiratory diseases, right? The flu, for instance, a cold. These things can kill people who are older because they have weakened immune systems, whereas younger people, we don't really have that problem. But Cuomo, in his infinite wisdom, sent elderly patients back to nursing homes, and then we had a dramatic cascade of horrors because we had so many people dying in nursing homes. But then it seems like he doubled down on it because recently our Attorney General, Letitia James, she did a report in which she found that the number of deaths in the nursing homes because of this particular thing happened to be 50% higher than what Cuomo was reporting. But then we had another issue. They weren't releasing the numbers, right? So we can see the difference. So a right-wing group in Albany then sued the governor under the Freedom of Information Act to say, hey, we want to see what the numbers are. Yesterday, a judge said, yeah, you have to give those numbers out. We need to see transparency. We need to see those numbers. So the state was ordered to release those COVID-19 numbers in nursing homes so we can see what the hell happened. Now, obviously, this is an embarrassment for the governor because he's been touted as like one of the best governors when it comes to responding to COVID-19, but it's actually been one of the worst. It's one of the worst death rates. It's been pretty much insane. Even our vaccine rollout hasn't been what most people think it should be. Now, a lot of people gave Trump a lot of flack for not, listening to the experts, not listening to science. They were saying that he's going his own way. But when executives on the left do exactly the same thing, it's interesting to see that the news media doesn't portray it as such. For instance, in this New York Times article, so this is what Governor Andrew Cuomo said of the pandemic policies. When I say experts in air quotes, it sounds like I'm saying I really don't trust the experts, because I don't. So if Trump said this, we'd be calling him anti-science. But Governor Cuomo can say this, and he wins an Emmy. But now I think the chickens have come home to roost. 9 of his top health officials from the state have now quit, citing, Governor Cuomo's actions and all that stuff. So they're gone. And now Democrats are actually calling for Cuomo's emergency powers under this pandemic to be rescinded. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. For instance, we here in New York, we don't have indoor dining, right? We can't go to a restaurant and eat. We have to, go buy it and bring it home. Now, this was a measure in place to protect us from COVID-19, even though the science said that transmissions in restaurants were actually pretty low. But again, when he does the air quotes, he doesn't really trust the experts. So as the states around us open up, like New Jersey, which had indoor dining, they didn't fall off a cliff, but their economy was able to continue to roll. But here in New York, we weren't. So as all these businesses started failing, the rents are becoming due, we've now had this economic crunch that's happening. And the governor just kind of willy-nilly just keeps shutting things down, shut down, shut down, shut down. But now he's starting to open things back up. Like indoor dining is opening up pretty soon. But I think now, because we're a liberal state, I think now some of the Democrats and even some of the Republicans have woken up and said, well, we've given this man too much power. And since we've given him too much power, it may be time to take some of this back. Now, obviously, the pandemic is not over, and we still have a long ways to go. For instance, the vaccine rollout hasn't been as good as we wanted it to be, and some other things. So think about how the news would react to this if this was Trump, right? It'd be front page news. And it's interesting that the chickens are coming home to roost for Governor Cuomo because, he won an Emmy for this, right? His performance was so good. I made a joke about it. I said, Governor Cuomo's acting was so good that they gave him an Emmy, but it was just an act. Like the state is almost in shambles. And it's not time for acting. It's time for leadership. At the end of the day, it's really about what do you think. So now we actually have an example of left-wing extremism during COVID. Shut down everything, ignore the science, and do what you want. And now our governor has to be reined back in. The award-winning, Emmy-winning governor. It wasn't all an act, and it was a great performance. My name is Nate, lawyer and YouTuber. See you in the next one.